Hi and welcome everyone. I am Friar Tuck, and this is the Army of Tuck podcast. And what I like to do is about once a week is take a subject and go really, really in depth into it because there are some things that the 15-minute videos, the short form or long form videos, really can't get into because there's so much information to cover. So that's why I save it for times like this when I can do something a lot more long form that will allow me the opportunity to get in depth. And what we're going to be talking about today is prepping or preparing for homelessness, and we're just going to call it prepping for homelessness 101. Okay, so let's say that you are looking around at everything that's going around you. You are possibly going to lose your job. You're not sure about the stability of your job. You're not sure about the stability of your finances. You've maxed out your credit cards. You can't live, you can't keep the show going as inflation gets out of control. And then all these other problems that are happening, whether it be globally, nationally, or regionally, everybody's starting to have a lot of problems. And so the smart people are going to start preparing for homelessness. And so you're going to be the primary person in which I'm talking to in this podcast today. However, if you are someone that is looking at starting a not-for-profit or a nonprofit to help the homeless, this will definitely be good food for thought for you because homeless prevention is something that really needs to be handled within the homeless spectrum. Because if you can prevent somebody from becoming homeless, then you also have the ability to not only make a large impact on society and the community, but you're also going to save a lot of money for the people that really need it versus those that could just, if they just had a little bit of an adjustment, a little bit of an assistance, or somebody to guide and help them along the way, then they might actually be able to navigate and avoid homelessness altogether. Okay, so this is going to be action packed. So this is not only for people that are preparing, but also those that want to service, and then also those of you that are looking to, that you've got the stability because you've got one of those recession-proof jobs, or you work for the government, or you're a government contractor in some form or fashion. So therefore, you may not be really worried about the stability of your job, but you know that your fellow Americans, because you love your country, you want to be there to help during this crisis, because this isn't just going to be a homeless crisis. This is a global economic collapse crisis. And because we were the central we had the petrodollar, essentially. We were the reserve currency. We're no longer the reserve currency, and that comes with a negative effects and long-term consequences that we're not fully aware of, and that we're going to start to see happening over the next couple of years. So you as an individual may really want to, if you're watching this for those reasons, these are some ideas that you can do to help your friends, your family, and those that be able to not only avoid homelessness, but be prepared for homelessness. Now, is the way that society puts it right now is that homelessness is a bad thing. You're lazy, you're never going to get a job, you're a drug addict, you're just sucking off the system, you're a vagrant, you're a transient, you destroy my city. There's so many different ways in which people have chosen to hate the homeless. But think of it this way: just like if one of your family members, whether it be one of your offspring, or one of your siblings, or one of your immediate family members, if they became gay, regardless of how you felt about their gayness, the first thing that you're going to do is accept them because they're your family member. You love them regardless of who they are. And so this is kind of the approach that you should be taking to this if you want to be able to assist, because this is going to affect your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, and your children, and possibly even you. And so if you have the means, if you have the ability to sit back and offer some sort of assistance or things like that, maybe help them get prepared, because not everybody, you can't cram everybody into one house like sardines, especially when you have larger families, or when you have a dysfunctional family dynamic. That may actually become more toxic to the individual than anything else. So if you're planning on preparing to become homeless or preparing to be homeless, Here are some things in which you can do as an individual that will help you get a better understanding of what is going on, what you need to do, so on and so forth. Okay, and I talk about this quite frequently in some of my videos, but again, I think that this needs to be a full A to Z type topic. And so if you're sticking around now, I want to say thank you, because now we're going to get into the meats and potatoes. One of the first things that you're going to want to do is you don't want to be homeless for the rest of your life. Finding jobs may not be there, especially if the economy crashes, especially if we turn into a third world country. So the opportunity for a job just isn't going to be there, or it may not be there. Okay, so what do you do? This is the importance of the digital economy. I have been homeless for almost 2 years. This October will be 2 years, and my plan was to start and create my own little business within the digital economy, which is why I talk about homeless awareness and homeless education. I have a YouTube channel, I have a Patreon account, I have, affiliate links and everything to be able to build a business around the education of individuals to become homeless. Now, you don't have the life experience that I have because I've been dealing with this off and on for 25 years, but you may have other skills, other experiences that you can monetize. And in the digital economy, it is a lot easier to monetize than it was 5 years ago and 10 years ago. Because of the pandemic, it kind of put everything on hyperdrive. And so instead of having like another 5 year transition, you better start transitioning right now into the digital economy, because you're going to need money to be able to survive. Whether it's you want to buy cigarettes, whether you want to have a beer, or like me, I like to smoke my bowls, or you're going to want to stop off and have a Coke, or you're planning on traveling, and so some places don't take food stamps, or hey, food stamps might not even be there, or the cost of food is so expensive that if you don't have something that gives you an unlimited potential of income, or it's not a ceiling like what you would get from a job, you're going to be putting yourself in a bad position if you're not really thinking about these types of things. So getting into the digital economy is going to be one of the most important things that you can do. So that means going and looking at Fiverr and Upwork. Those are places to start. Those are not the end all be all. Those are just popular places where people go and take advantage of the offerings of the digital economy. They become freelancers, subcontractors, or small business owners, like solopreneurs. The age of having employees is coming to an end, and we are going into the age of the solopreneur. So if you're not getting prepared and you're not getting ahead of the game, well, then you may be caught behind the eight ball. And then what do? Because I have started this before the crisis actually started, I'm going to be a lot farther along in my journey and a lot more prepared, because I've already started to build that foundation versus if I would have waited until that day. So if you are planning on preparing for homelessness, one of the first things that you want to do is go and look at the digital economy. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now you're gonna say, okay, if I go homeless, I need to be able to live off of $300,000, $600 a month. Okay, you're kind of figuring out like, what do you need? What are you spending on food? Now, don't think about eating out. Figure out different ways to eat cheaply. Like I will eat rice and gravy to eat cheap, because it gives me the fats and it gives me the carbs and gives me everything that I need to be able to keep moving. Okay, so you'll want to start thinking about cheaper ways to eat. Now, I know that it sometimes sucks. I hate eating rice. I would rather eat out or not eat at all sometimes, because I've eaten so much rice. But in a pinch, in an emergency, I always keep at least a pound of rice on me. Okay, so you're gonna be thinking about things like that. Now, the other thing that you're gonna want to think of now that you're in the digital economy, do you have the ability to travel? While doing this, do you think it's going to be a good idea to travel? Because whether you're in a big city, a small city, a rural area, a lot of things are going to go crazy. And so your community may be overran. So maybe even traveling might be your best option. For some people it is, for some people it isn't. If you've got a family, especially, like one of my subscribers, he's got, him, his wife, and like 3 kids. That's 5 people. And then you got a caravan, 5 people, you got to worry about security for 5 people while traveling. So maybe his best bet might be to be local so that he can make sure to be able to take care of his family, because his family is important. He may need access to medical care because he's got young children, and children tend to get hurt a lot, and you can only have so much first aid on you if you're traveling. So thinking about traveling or being static, you really have to look at your situation. Most people are like, oh, I just want to stay static. Well, you know what? That comes with a lot of different complications. One of the complications is when you become static, you start to hoard, which is just another form of nesting, like what pregnant women do. It means that you're ready to get back in a house, or you strongly desire a house, so you start doing the subconscious things of hoarding, and then that creates trash. And then because you're staying static, you may stay in an area all day long, except for to go get food. Well, then you become an eyesore, and then people start getting mad at you. This is a big problem that the home bums face today, is that they just don't they stay in one area, and then they just don't move, and then they spread out, and then with everything else that's going on, they end up becoming an eyesore and creating so many issues that the local community is like, I don't like the homeless. I think the homeless are dirty, nasty, disgusting drug addicts. Okay, and that's what people will say about the home bums. But those are the guys that they're just gonna stay. They don't want to move. They don't want to do anything. They're just like, I want to go, or I want to stay. Me, I'm the type of person, I like to always be on the move. Why do I like to be on the move? Well, one, I'm not going to hoard. I'm not going to, when I go through a town or I go through an area, I'm only there for a day, 3 days tops. And so therefore, I don't have enough time to, create animosity, to have people get upset with me, to, have large amounts of trash, to become the eyesore that everybody dislikes. Now, I do walk through areas, and because people see that I'm dirty because I've been out in the woods or I've been traveling and it's been a couple of weeks since I've had a shower, they start looking at me and go, oh my God, there is a suspicious person. We're scared of him. I just had that happen to me in the Capitol building. I mean, I was being polite and respectful and anything else like that, but because I'd had bad experiences with the homeless, now everybody's turning into a snowflake, and I feel like I'm in danger. And so being a homeless person, this is something that you're going to have to deal with, whether you're traveling or whether you're being static and being a home bum. Okay, but once you've got the digital economy, now you've figured out, am I going to travel or am I going to be a home bum? Okay, now the next thing that you're going to really need to do if you're going to prepare to be homeless is you need to start thinking about your sleeping gear. I'm doing a lot more road walks than forest walks. I like to do it in the forest, but some of these trails are more for they're more for entertainment. They're not meant for travel. I'm trying to get from point A to point B because I have certain things, certain missions, certain goals that I need to complete. So being out on trail and just kind of wandering around and having nowhere to go and just kind of wandering aimlessly isn't really in the cards for me at this stage of the game for me, because I'm really pushing to be able to have that livable income. Whether it is that I can live out here comfortably or I can get my own place, I need to be able to have some sort of livable income so that I don't have to sit there and beg and say, please put some money in my tip jar, or buy something off my affiliate links, or come on over and be this. I want to get to a point where I don't have to beg, and that people will just come over because they want to come over, versus like, okay, yeah, this guy's like really desperate, let's help him, so on and so forth. Okay, but the way that I am having to move, I've done tent, I've done hammock. Hammock is really good in forests, especially when you're on trail, because there's certain spots that you cannot place down a tent. So you've got two trees alongside the trail. You just put it right there. You got zero impact. You're not leaving any traces that you were there. Versus now that I'm kind of getting into areas where, like, okay, it's raining, but I've got no cover. I've got no trees to be able to tie my hammock and a tarp to, so that or even a rain cover to. So these are things that you're going to have to figure out. Like, if you're traveling, how are you going to do it? If you're going to be a home bum, now tents are popping up in some of these cities. That is something that I've noticed. Like, even here in Washington D.C., I'm starting to see tents pop up in the cities. But generally, most cities, the second they see tents, you will have the police coming through. They may shred your tent. in LA. I watched them in Skid Row, and this was probably almost 20 years ago, where they would come through with like a little bulldozer, and they would like all the cardboard boxes that were laid up, so everybody had to get up by like 4 a.m. because by 4:30 here comes this bulldozer just getting all that trash, and just kind of they're just using the bulldozer as a way to do a giant sweep of the city, because those trucks that come by, they can't pick up the large stuff that the homeless leave behind, and so therefore they leave a lot more trash behind because they got to get up, they got to move, and they're coming by with a bulldozer anyway, so why even worry about it? And so this is kind of how LA keeps itself clean in Skid Row. At least that's the way it used to be. Now whether or not it's changed is a different thing. Okay, so having a tent in a city is something that may not necessarily work for you. However, one thing that you can do is you can get one of those blue tarps from, or I would actually recommend getting something other than blue, because people see blue and they automatically go homeless, okay, or redneck or something like that. They're going to look down on you for the blue. Now, if you have a green one, well, you're not really, it doesn't register because they're so used to seeing the homeless have a blue tarp versus a green tarp. Okay, so you get a 12 by 12 tarp. That way you can tuck and fold the edges, kind of roll up like a burrito when it rains, so that you can stay dry, keep your gear dry, and be able to function, because keeping your stuff dry is very, very important. But if you're out on trail, then you need to, or you're going to be, going from point A to point B, you're going to be doing a lot of traveling. One of the things that you're going to be thinking about is, my terrain. Am I going to be more on trail, or am I going to be more on road? Do I think that there's going to be more places to pitch a tent, or am I going to run into a lot of problems pitching a tent? Now, a hammock really doesn't weigh much extra. I mean, like just between the straps and the hammock itself, if you're not putting a cover on it, and no underquilt or anything else like that, you're looking at about a pound. So you can add a pound to your overall weight. That's perfectly fine if you want to be able to have the versatility. Or there are gear that is a hammock tent combo. So it has the skeleton structure to be able to set it up, to use the rainfly as a way to turn it into a tent, or you can sit there and hang it as a hammock. Now that's what I'm going to be going to, because you do need that versatility, because not everywhere you can place a hammock, and not everywhere you can place you can place a tent. So if you have that versatility and you can put it all into one, then that's great. It's probably going to cost you about 3 pounds, 4 pounds tops. Okay. And then you also got to think about an underquilt. And then if you're doing the tent thing, are you going to have a sleeping pad, or are you going to, like me, I use my underquilt as a sleeping pad. And it's been so hot the last few days that I've even been using my sleeping bag as a sleeping pad, because I can sleep outside my sleeping bag. It's like 72, 75 in the morning by the time I wake up. So on and so forth. Okay. So now you've gotten into the digital economy. You have figured out how you're going to travel, and now you're looking at, or whether or not you're going to be a home bum or travel, and then you're starting to look at your gear. But you are definitely going to want a sleeping bag. A sleeping bag is probably one of the most important things that you could have. And then, on top of that, you're going to want a first aid kit, mostly for other people than yourself. But, sometimes I've had to use it. Sam got attacked by a dog. Good thing I had a first aid kit. I used some alcohol swabs. I cleaned her ear out. I rinsed it out, made sure it was good, put a couple of globs of triple antibiotic on it, so that it would keep the bacteria from getting in there, and help speed up the process. And I didn't have to take my dog to a vet, but also the dog didn't tear her ear, because I was holding her down as he was holding his dog down, to keep him from just ripping and shredding her ear. So some things that went on to kind of help her along the way. Okay, now if I hadn't had that owner there, that would have ended completely different. Sam probably would have ended up in the dog hospital, over very quickly, because without me and the other guy working together, It would have been much worse for my dog, and it would have been much harder for me to be able to do it. But you're definitely going to want first aid kits. And the other thing is, you got to think about nursing spider bites. And there's like lots of sticker bushes and stuff like that that are out there as well. Okay, so you've got your gear. You've got whether or not you're going to be travel or be a home bum, and you've got your digital economy, what it is that you're doing. Okay, so you're now on the way. You're about 50% prepared for what's coming. Okay, now for me, my gear is mainly food, support things to be able to maintain my gear, such as like patches and tape and extra lighters, extra batteries, extra this, extra that. You really want to keep it down. You should, per person, for a single person, you should be able to fit your stuff into a 75-liter bag. Anything more than that, you're being excessive. And so you need to really kind of figure out what it is that you can do to kind of reduce the amount of stuff that you have. One. Two, you really got to look at weight. Okay, and this is something that I've talked about on my nightly live stream about at 7 o'clock every night. And so I've got a couple of calcium deposits on my back because I've overstuffed my backpack. I had too much weight in there. There was room in there, but the stuff that I had was so heavy that because you're only technically supposed to do something like 30% of your body weight. Anything more than that is actually not good for you. Now, you have a lot of preppers who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to put 60, 80 pounds. I'm going to put half my body weight. But that's really not sustainable. It's not long term, especially if you're traveling. Now, if you're walking a mile or two here and then a mile or two there and stuff like that, having that heavy bag, but it's also going to be deterrent from you moving. And the bigger the homeless crisis gets, the more you're going to have to be on the move to begin with, because with the whole Grants Pass case that just happened, a lot of these sit stand laws are going to come back into place, and it's just nothing more than Jim Crow laws for the homeless. And so if you're going to be homeless and you're preparing to be homeless, you need to be prepared for the Jim Crow laws for the homeless, which is like, let's say, your sit stand laws, your camping bans, and different ordinances that they create. For example, to prevent panhandling, what they're doing now is they're saying that if you step out into the street to grab a dollar, even though you're standing right there and you're holding a sign and somebody wants to hand a dollar to you out the window, once you step off that sidewalk, you're now considered impeding traffic. Now, are they violating your First Amendment right? No, they're not. What they're doing is they're getting you on a technicality, going, you're stepping out there, so on and so forth. Now, an argument I will use if I ever get in that is, why do the firemen get to stand out there with a boot and they're not impeding traffic, but I am? So therefore, now I have something that is a legal claim, and this could make it all the way up to the Supreme Court, like the Boise v. Martin or the Johnson v. Grants Pass. Okay, so you might want to look into those two pieces of case law, because they are probably the most important pieces of case law that is out there. Okay. Now you also got to look at some other things. Once you've got your sleep gear, you've got your direction, you got your digital economy. You need to start looking at the environment in which you're in. One of the things that's happening right now, and is going to become a slippery slope, because after the Grants Pass case, the Maxine Waters, and if you know who she is, great. If you don't know who she is, she got caught with her hand in the cookie jar, I think around the '08 crash, because her husband was one of the bankers that got preferential lending from the federal government. She used her position in Congress to be able to get that. And now she wants to go out there and essentially give unlimited funding to fund all of these homeless programs. But what is that really going to do? With what's going on in Florida, what you've got going on is that they're trying to do an end around the Boise v. Martin, the Ninth Circuit Court case, which is, if there's not enough room, you cannot give them tickets for sleeping. Okay. Now, the Grants Pass case kind of really redefined that a little bit, but it still stands, and there are implications for it, like the sit stand laws and stuff like that. That is cruel and unusual punishment. But the thing is it's how they apply it. Is it being applied to everybody, or is it being applied to one specific group? And in the same way, the Black community and the homeless community, pretty much have the same problem because they have the same antagonists. We got the white Karens, and they've got something else. We've got the police, they've got the police. We've got the system geared against us. They've got the system geared against them, and you will not. It's kind of hard to be able to understand, or at least have an understanding of the issues in which they have, until you have got to really experience it. And that's why whenever people try and talk to me about race or racism, I really can't talk about it too much other than my experiences in life. Okay, because just like when somebody clutches their purse, as a black person walks by, well, the same people do that when a homeless person walks by too. It's because they listen to the propaganda, and they are so far stuck up their ass that that they are allowing themselves to be used as tools to create mass hysteria and fear where there should be none. Okay, because just like that black person it doesn't have any intent of robbing you, neither does a homeless person. Now they may have intent of other things, but robbing you is probably on the last on their list. Okay, unless they're extremely desperate. But put any man against the wall and see what happens. They become unpredictable. Okay. But with what's going on in Florida is you are actually having an issue where they are now starting to create homeless camps. So you've got Maxine Waters, who wants to just fund the crap out of these NGOs who are doing nothing but wasting money. They're top heavy. I'm starting to make a joke. What's the difference between an NGO and a homeless person? Because both are begging for your money. But an NGO is going to, the top of their organization is going to get fat salaries, and they get to live in lavish homes while profiting off of the misery of another. Well, at least giving it to the homeless person, nobody's profiting off their misery, and that homeless person can go do whatever they want. And if they take too much and they OD, don't feel guilty about it. They just wanted a way out, and so therefore they took it. It's not your fault. If you really want to look at it, you kind of help them in their pain. And I know that may not be popular, and a lot of what I have to say isn't popular, but I've been living this off and on for 25 years. I've got to watch the changes. I've got to watch it go from one extreme to the other extreme, and now we're going back to the same extreme I started with 25 years ago. Okay, but what's going to end up happening is the federal government's going to get mad because the homeless crisis is going to explode. The NGOs aren't actually providing any effective solutions, and there is no accountability for them because all they want is repeat customers, and then the homeless person is stuck there being the scapegoat. And so what's the government going to do? Well, we're just going to put them all in camps. I think Florida's got a great idea. Put them all in camps because, they're lazy, they're derelict, and da-da-da-da, while still giving money to these NGOs who are going out there doing the bare minimum. Now, it doesn't mean they're all like that, but enough of it happens to where it is actually destructive within the social economic structure of our community as a country. Okay, so it's not to say that you cannot say not everybody is this, not everybody is that. Not every redhead was born a redhead. I was born a blonde and then turned red. Not every there's always an exception to the rule, but there's very few people or times in which you get those exceptions. Okay, so if this plays out the way that I think it is, because I was warned about this last Thanksgiving right before I found Sam as I was hopping trains down to Waycross, is that eventually the government's going to try and fix it, and then the government's going to get frustrated, and the government's just going to put us in Auschwitz, okay? And that's really what's going to happen, because just like post... during the post Weimar Republic, during the time of the Nazi regime, they went after the blacks, they went after the Jews, and then they went after the homeless. Well, it's kind of reversed a little bit. Now they're going after the whites, and I've actually had people tell me that they've talked to their HR and they're like, we don't value you as a human being for being white. If you were a different color, we would value, but we don't value white people anymore. And so again, we've gone to the other extreme. So it will be the whites, it will be the homeless, and it will probably be anybody that is politically on the right that will get stuck with this. Okay, so these are some things that you really need to prepare for. This is a whole environment. You know how to make your money. You created the plan. You know what you're going to do. You're going to stay, or you're going to be on the move. You know what gear you need because of the mode in which you're choosing to be homeless, and then you're also getting prepared for the possibility of the hostile environment. It's going to be great for a short period of time, and then it's just everybody's going to turn on us, and we're going to be the scapegoat. And this is essentially what's going to happen. It's just a natural cause and effect. If I give somebody $100 a month and then they keep coming back and going, well, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke. Well, you're just eventually going to say, I'm not giving you any more money because apparently you don't know how to manage it. Okay. And this is just the human condition, or however you want to describe it, but just psychologically, this is how things are going to work out, or could work out. And so, if you're preparing to be homeless, and this is just an introduction to it, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. I'm going to do a 102, 103, and 104 because I want to walk you through each stage of homelessness. Okay, I'm not going to even talk about the backslide because I've always talked about the backslide before you become homeless. The backslide takes 1 to 2 years, depending upon the way that you and your family interact with each other. Okay, so I mean, it could be almost instantly, like it is for very few people, but most people end up doing a backslide of 1 to 2 years. Okay, we're going to talk about homelessness in general. So how do you help somebody like this? Well, if you know that somebody is on the verge of it and they're struggling just to be able to pay their bills, maybe if you're just a sympathizer, it's a friend, it's a family member, stuff like that, give them a small little spot and say, look, you can stay here temporarily while you keep going to work and doing what you're doing until that runs out. I'll take $200 a month in rent because you're going to use water, electricity. You're going to need to use cooking facilities. You're going to be able to do laundry and things like that. Okay, but again, helping them get prepared for homelessness would be like, go sleep outside. You can sleep in the backyard, that's fine. Before I came out here, I slept in the backyard for about 2 weeks because I needed to get myself acclimated to the weather. I need to get acclimated to everything. So you're helping them. It's tough love, and you're helping them. And it's going to be a lot easier on you because now they're out there. They're not in your personal space. You don't have to worry about it. They're not sitting in there camping on your couch or anything else like that. But you are able to give them a spot. The other thing is maybe assist them with gear. If it wasn't for my subscribers and helping me upgrade my gear, I pretty much have all my final gear minus my tent hammock combo. And every so often you're gonna have to replace your sleeping bag. I replace my sleeping bag probably 3 times a year. But that's just because I'm rough on my stuff. And when you're rough on certain things, it's not going to last as long. But I also buy inexpensive stuff so that I can be rough on it. But rough is a vague term. We'll just put it that way. And so I always like to come outside my sleeping bag and outside the hood. And what happens is I end up stretching, and then I end up tearing part of the thing because the threads aren't good. Okay. But that's what you could do if you're an NGO and you want to be able to help with homeless prevention. One of the things that you probably need to do, because most people don't know where to find a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to have to start doing videos on this and start doing interviews on this as well. And I think that will kind of expand some of the things that we're doing with this podcast, but getting people connected and being their advocate, because when you're first experiencing homelessness, you don't know what you're about to go through. If you had to be homeless for the first time, would you know where to go, what to do? There's not a lot of information out there. I think I'm pretty much the only one that has any real information out there, and it's really not that much to begin with, because there's so much out there you can't really cover it, and most of it's useless anyways, or just doesn't apply to me because I'm not a drug addict. I don't have to go to mental health things because I don't have mental health issues. I'm just there for a shower, laundry, clothes, and a meal. And that's pretty much all of the homeless services that are offered to me that I can actually take advantage of, because even the job programs don't recognize the digital economy. The other thing is I've got Sam. Having an animal, you will not be able to get into any shelters. And if that's something that's important to you, you might want to consider rehousing your animal. Okay. But if you're an NGO, you've got to really be their quarterback and say, okay, go over here, apply for this, go over here, apply for this, go over here, apply for this. Kind of tell them it's all going to be okay. Kind of be their, not necessarily their confidant, but their cheerleader of telling them you're going to make it through this. You're going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. We've got your back. Just do what we need you to do so that you can get what you need. And so maybe we can keep you housed versus having you do a full-on black slide to where where you become homeless. Okay. And if you're just one of those people that are going to be homeless, and you're preparing for it because you think it's inevitable, don't burn your bridges. Okay, that is the most important thing. The reason why I'm doing well out here is because I didn't burn my bridges. Me and my old man, yeah, we don't get along, but it still doesn't change the fact that he's my old man and I'm his son. And because I didn't do anything stupid enough to burn that bridge, like if I would have robbed him or destroyed his property or things like that, he probably, he would have been a lot more upset with me. But no, it was an ideological disagreement that him and I have because, yeah, he's a boomer and I don't like boomers. Okay, for various reasons that you may have heard me state in previous content. Okay, but don't burn those bridges. Those bridges are going to be important. Okay, there are going to be people that are going to come and go. But you really need to focus on the ones that are going to stay around. So, for example, as far as subscribers, I've got some people that are sticking around that I always see. Bushcraft, Jeremy, Alfred. Let's see, Linda's becoming one of those. I've got Butterfly, who is new to it as well. But I have probably about 10 to 15 people that are always going to be there, and those are the people that I make sure to keep the lines of communication open, because those are going to be the people that when the whole world turns upside down and goes against you, you're going to be looking at it and going, man, I'm so glad that I didn't burn my bridges with all these people, because you've got to be okay with the fact that you're going to be homeless. Okay. You've got to be okay with the fact that you're going to have to sleep outside. It's going to be scary for the first few days. It's going to be scary for the first month. It may be scary for the first 6 months, just because you're having to learn and acclimate to a whole new lifestyle and environment. And then just the way that things are progressing through society. It's going to take you a minute, but the because you didn't burn those bridges, you will have a lot more support that you need, that will be extremely impactful for you moving forward. Okay, so these are some things that you, as an individual, if you're preparing, you really need to be conscious about and be thoughtful about. Don't burn those bridges, because those bridges are extremely, extremely important. Okay, so you guys know how to help the channel. I support myself through various ways, mostly through crowdfunding. So if you put a tip down in my tip jar, come over to Patreon. I've got affiliate links down in the description if you're looking at gear, and a lot of the stuff that I use, especially my solar setup. That's extremely important as far as my portable power. That's how I'm able to function and do what I do, and be part of the digital economy while I'm homeless on trail with no access to a plug. Okay. But that's because I've had the right people and the right things come into play to allow me to do that. And so my learning experience becomes your applied knowledge that you can use, and you don't really have to go through all the experimentation like I have, trying to figure out how to do it this way, how do I do it that way. Okay, so tip jar, Patreon, affiliate links, becoming a member. So I mean, I've got the early release, and then if you want to support me while I do my walks, it's $20. Okay, and you get access to pictures, and you get all kinds of cool perks, and you can use them however you want. And this is the different ways you can help the channel if you want to contribute financially. If you want to contribute without doing finances, the ways in which you can do it is become a subscriber, like, comment, show up to all my videos and participate, and because that helps me make money. Even though you're not giving me any money, all of that stuff. As I get more views, as I get more people watching the stuff and the ads and stuff like that, that pays me more without you having to actually like come out of pocket. Okay, but the other thing that you can do is I need to be able to have my uh, my listeners, my viewers, to assist me in getting in contact with some of these senators and politicians, senators, representatives, local government, federal government. I need to be able to have people get loud enough to be able to get me in front of them so that we can talk and discuss possible solutions so that we can at least mitigate a lot of the damage that's going to be done to society with this. So those are the different ways that you can help this channel the other way. So I look forward to seeing how you choose to help the channel. With that being said, thank you for being here, and I will see you in next week's podcast.